Okay. Guys, I'm just going to ask everyone except Dr. Pranjal to like shut off their mics and keep them on mute for the rest of the seminar, alright? If you guys have any questions, you guys can always put it in the chat box. Dr. Pranjal, we are joined here with a couple of our board and core members who are a part of the physiotherapy faculty. So they're just here to learn from you and be there.
All right.
Okay. Okay, so the recording. Okay, so I'll go ahead. Right. Okay, so hi guys, I'm Protractor Vidisha. I'm the Vice President and Club Mentor of RC Caduceus. Today we're doing a seminar on career opportunities in physiotherapy with Dr. Pranjal Grover. I would like to invite her by introducing her first. Um, she has done her bachelor's from St. GS Medical College and KM Hospital, her master's from LTMMC and Sion Hospital, and then she has gone on to do her PhD scholar at DY Patil University. She has been a part of an academician for 12 years under MUHS and has been an external examiner for 8. And she has also worked alongside Leelavati Hospital and the Spastic Society of India. She has specialized in neurophysiotherapy, specializing in pediatrics. And yeah, Dr. Pranjal, we are very grateful for you to have to join us and give us your time today. So
Pleasure is mine. So should I start with the session?
yes, you can go ahead.
Just open the door. Yes, Vidhi, should I start with the session?
Yes, you can go ahead.
All right. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Pranjal Grover. I'm an associate professor at TMV's Lokmanya Medical College of Physiotherapy, and I'm here to take a session with you all on career planning in physiotherapy. At the onset, I would like to thank the Rotaract Club of the Caduceus for inviting me as the speaker over here. So, let's get started. Okay, so the most important or the fundamental question which is facing students who are in the third year or the final year of physiotherapy is how to choose your career path. It has become even more pertinent in recent times due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the confusion is in everyone's mind. So I will try to give you a few options which are ahead of you, and you can choose the one which is the most suitable at this point in time. The first and foremost question, which I think is on everyone's mind, is whether to do masters or to get into clinical practice. You need to ask yourself this question: am I interested in studying further? Why is this question so relevant or so pertinent? Is because masters involves a lot of time and effort, and of course a lot of hard work. For 2 years you are investing 2 years of your time in this project. So if you're really not interested in studying further and you are just under peer pressure, or you really don't know what to do with your time and you're choosing masters, then I would suggest do not go for it, because then it becomes a burden actually. So if and only if you're interested in studying further, do take up masters. Otherwise, clinical practice is also a good career choice for students. If at all you have decided that you would want to study further, or even if you are getting into clinical practice, the next question which you need to ask is, what is my field of interest? As most of you would be aware that the physiotherapy field is broadly divided into 4 fields, which is masters in musculoskeletal therapy, masters in neurosciences, masters in cardiorespiratory therapy, and masters in community health. So you need to understand or realize where in your is the field of interest. Also, the fifth option which you can consider is sports physiotherapy, which is of course now a big rage in the country, and it is highly in demand as well. So, but the options which are available for masters in pure sports therapy are quite limited. So then you need to consider that as well. Even in clinical practice, this becomes a relevant question because accordingly you would take up employment in a hospital which provides you that patient pool. Then you need to ask yourself, what are the resources at my disposal, especially financial resources, because in getting in a degree is going to take up your financial resources. Of course, you have to pay the fees, then you have to pay for the books and other things. So you need to have a fund where you will pay for your fees. Also, if you are getting into clinical practice, obviously, if you are setting up your own clinic, then you need to have funds at your disposal. Even if you are renting out, you need funds at your disposal. If you do not have those kind of funds, I would say that seek employment in a hospital, or you can start by doing home visits, which will help you collect a sufficient number of funds, and then you can just move from there on. The other things which you need to consider is human resources. Why is that so important? Because whether you are taking up studying further or you are getting into clinical practice, initially you would be invested, usually in emotionally, as well as your money would be involved, your effort will be involved. You need to have sufficient backing on the home front. It is very, very difficult to manage both the fronts at the same time. If you do prefer to go in for study abroad, then check out your preferences. You could have preferences in terms of a good college within your city or outside the city, where you would want to be based, or where you would want to set up your clinical practice or do your master's studies. If you are opting for masters, naturally you would prefer cities like Mumbai, Bangalore, or Delhi, which will give you a variety of options. Pune is another good option, which has quite a few good colleges. The next thing is that nowadays many students are opting to go for a particular guide. So if you know of a particular guide who is very good in her own field, his or her own field, you can actually opt to do your masters under this guide. Then you need to consider what are the amenities and the infrastructure provided by the college. This becomes very, very relevant when you are staying on campus. If you are staying on campus, then please do check out for the hostel facilities. Also, simultaneously, you should be checking out the library facilities and the canteen facilities which are there on campus. Even if you are not staying on campus, you do definitely need to check out the general infrastructure provided by the college and the library facilities. The last but not the least is the personal front. If you are done with your bachelor's, many students may think of getting married or moving from one city to another. Such personal decisions should be taken prior to getting or taking your plunge into master's or clinical practice, because otherwise it again becomes very difficult to manage. There are many students who have done both simultaneously, but again, then it may become stressful for certain individuals. Clinical practice. Now, what are the things you need to consider when you're getting into clinical practice? If you're self-employed, what are the things which you would look at? The first and foremost being investment. Definitely investment is necessary because you would require finances for building up your clinic, for the rent which you are going to pay, for the equipment, for the furniture, and for the general advertising of your clinic. Space again is a very, very important criteria because now physiotherapy field is quite saturated. If you just take a walk around your locality, you will realize that every single road would have at least 2 or 3 physio clinics. So then try to figure out a space which has a lesser competition initially when you are beginning off, because you need to build up that patient pool. Otherwise, you are already facing the wall before you've even started off. So think of this. Again, space, you would prefer to pay a lesser rent when you're starting off, or you would prefer to invest in a property, whichever, depending on what funds you have. So give a good consideration to space. The next is contacts and referrals. Again, when you're looking out for space, make sure that you are getting in touch with the general practitioners, the orthopedicians, even the other physios who are in the locality. Because it is not necessary that the other physios would be specializing in the same area as you have, and they may refer patients to you. As to the point which I have made, that you have to get in touch with the orthopedicians and the general practitioners and other medical fraternity people who are in the area. One good way of building up a patient pool is by registration with the local physiotherapy associations. I myself am a member of the Navi Mumbai Physiotherapy Association. There are other physiotherapy associations like the Mumbai Physiotherapy Association and the Thane Physiotherapy Association. And it's a great way to start off, because then you would come in contact with the entire physiotherapy community in your region, and they become again your referral sources. Plus, usually these physiotherapy associations have, some of them have very good lectures, workshops, webinars, which will keep you up to date with what is going on in the field of physiotherapy. Also, since the vendors and dealers are usually attending conferences which are organized by these associations, you will come in contact with them as well. So please do get yourself registered with your local physiotherapy association. The next is doing courses and workshops. I would recommend that post-bachelor's, if you are getting into clinical practice, even if you're self-employed, doing home visits, just keep yourself abreast of the latest information in your particular field. But I will go with a disclaimer that choose the workshops and the courses correctly, because too many workshops and courses are taking place. Do not go about randomly just doing anything when you have the time. Check out the resource person, check out the course coordinator. Preferably do not do 1 or 2 day workshops, because they hardly give you any matter or content. And do check out the importance of the certificate which they are providing you. Then only and then do you invest your time and effort in courses and workshops. If you are a student, do not be in a rush to attend conferences, courses, or workshops. Speak to your teachers and then decide on which ones to do. So that's about courses and workshops. The next one would be dealers and vendors. As most of you would know, that physiotherapy is a profession which would require equipments in terms of electrotherapeutic modalities, and otherwise also you may require therabands, you may require Swiss balls, you may require weight cuffs, you would require specialized furniture. So get in touch with dealers and vendors. Make sure to find out which one of them is giving you a good discount. Build up a rapport with that person, and then only you can have a good relationship with the dealers, and they would be able to give you some sort of discount on their products. So that is about being self-employed. What are the things you should look at if you are working in hospitals or clinics? First and foremost, you need to decide whether you are going to be doing a part-time or a full-time job. Part-time job, what are the advantages of doing a part-time job? It gives you time to do other things, like maybe you want to do a particular workshop, you want to study further. It would give you that kind of flexibility. Or you can do multiple part-time jobs, like you could be doing 2 hours in one clinic and 2 hours in another clinic. You could be working morning and evening. So that would give you some sort of flexibility, which is also good, and it may give you additional revenue as well. Also, with the part-time job, you can do home visits, so that opens up another frontier for you. In a full-time job, obviously, if you're in a good reputed hospital, you would get the benefits or the perks of being an employee of that hospital. So that works for you again, and they would give you a proper experience certificate. So whenever you are going in for the next job, obviously you can reproduce that certificate, which would hold more value since you have done a full-time job over there. Look at the setup always. What is the setup where you want to work, whether you want to work in the OPD or the IPD. OPD, most of the patients which you will get would be from the musculoskeletal or the neurophysiotherapy faculty. Whereas in the IPD, if you are working in the ICU setup, it would be mostly cardiorespiratory patients whom you are tackling with, along with the other faculty patients. But primarily, it would be the cardiorespiratory system which you are aiming at. In the wards, of course, you would get a variety of patients. One thing which you can do in the OPD is set up specialized OPDs like antenatal care OPD or a geriatric OPD, where you are seeing patients only from that particular pool or specialty. That also is a good source of revenue, because then by word of mouth you build up your reputation and you get those kind of patients coming to you as well. One important factor which you need to consider over here is the salary part. It does make a difference whether you have done your bachelor's or master's. There is a difference of pay. The masters obviously would get more pay as compared to the bachelors. But here, if you have more experience, you haven't done your masters and still you have years of experience behind you, you may be at the same level. Another thing which you need to know is some hospitals give a percentage of earnings. That means, for example, 50% of the earning goes to the hospital and 50% goes to the physio. The ratio could be different in different hospitals. It could be 60-40, 70-30, and so on. Also, if you worked before, your previous salary comes into consideration always. And then from that salary, you would get a jump. Probably it could be a 15 to 20% jump with a change of job. So do have a look at the salary structure which is provided by the hospitals and the clinics before you take up employment anywhere. One more important thing which you need to look at is the accreditation. Look at the NABH accreditation. What is NABH? National Accreditation Board for Hospitals. Do look at the score which the hospitals, the grade which the hospital has received, and take up employment accordingly. If you're working in a smaller hospital or a clinic and NABH accreditation has not been done in that hospital, do make sure that all the licenses are up to date and the hospital has taken care of all the licenses which are required. Now, if you choose to do masters in India, what are the things you need to consider? Masters as of today is a 2-year full-time course. Initially, it was a 3 years course. I have done masters of 3 years. 2 years back, they stopped the 3-year course and now it has come down to 2 years because I would say it is a great thing that you're saving 1 year. But then it is all the more important that you are fully invested with regards to time and effort, because 2 years is very short to complete masters. You may think at the end that, oh, it was rushed. Internship completion certificate and degree certificate is mandatory. So make sure that when you're in your internship, you finish your research projects in time. Otherwise, your college is not going to give your internship completion certificate, and your master's admission therefore will not take place. Maharashtra University of Health Sciences, that is MUHS, conducts CET in the month of July and August. So you need to be prepared with the necessary certificates and documentation for the same. Admission criteria for deemed universities, that is, the merit list is put up as per the CET score or aggregate of marks for all 4 years is taken into account. Some universities still follow the first come, first serve criteria. Please be aware that all diploma courses are de-recognized by the Maharashtra State OTPT Council and a few other state councils. Do not involve yourself or register yourself with any sort of diploma course in India. It is absolutely de-recognized, and Maharashtra State OTPT Council is a very, very strong and an active body. And surely then you will be held accountable for such things. When you are taking admissions for masters, one thing which many students do overlook is the seat matrix. What is a seat matrix? A seat matrix is basically an allocation of seats as per quota or reservation. So if there are 50 seats in a university, a few seats would be allocated to the caste. They could be allocated to the gender, a particular gender, for example, females. They could be allocated to NRIs. There are management seats. So you need to know the ratio of seats which have been allocated, because as per your CET score, then it becomes very easy to understand whether you're likely to get in or no. And because you have to give your preferences first, then that the seat matrix across universities becomes very, very crucial. What are the things you would consider if you are going abroad? TOEFL and GRE scores are usually accepted. GRE score is applicable only for the New York University. The rest of the universities are accepting the TOEFL score. TOEFL is a test of reading, writing, listening, and spoken English. TOEFL score is also a requirement for license exams when you would eventually want to start working. Please do opt for dedicated counselors, because going abroad, whether it is USA, Canada, Australia, it is usually a tedious process, plus it's a complex process, very difficult to understand the paperwork and the system. So you've got to pick up a good counselor, and of course, good counselors, you have to pay a bit more than the regular counselors, but do invest in a good counselor, because that increases your chance of getting into good universities. There is something called as a WES score. What is a WES score? Is basically, it is a credential evaluation. Basically, they are converting your academic accomplishments in India to match those in USA or Canada. So you need a WES score. After conversion of your score, you need at least 3.5 on 4. That is a requirement. Anything lesser than that is not going to be accepted by any of the universities in USA or Canada. Admission paperwork is done between March to April usually. So again, I'm coming back to the point that please finish your internship by end of Feb, because that is when usually the internships are over. Finish your research work on time, and make sure you're obtaining your documents well in time, because as you can see, I've pointed out again that March and April is the time when you need to start doing the paperwork. You would have already gotten into the process when your internship has started. Documents are to be submitted latest by May, and the term starts in August and September. If you miss this deadline, then you have to wait for another year, which is really not recommended. Again, recommendations are a must. So you need to take recommendations from your teachers or professors who are there in your institute who have taught you. Do go in for teachers who specialize in the area where you are interested in doing your masters. There are standard recommendation formats available online. Your counselor also would be able to help you on this. Or there would be formats available in the college. Some colleges do give their own formats only. So make sure you are getting a good recommendation. USA has a doctorate degree. It is a combination of bachelor's and master's degree. For Indian students with master's degree, the duration of DPT comes down to around 1 year. And for those who have done only their bachelor's, it comes down to 1.5 years. Once you are done studying, then you have to apply for a license exam in whichever state you wish to practice. The license exam usually takes around 2 to 3 months, or students can opt for an educational credentials review ECR, which takes at least 8 to 9 months. This is post your master's. Post masters, you have to obtain work visa followed by an optional training period of 1 year. This is similar to internship period over here in India. So this visa has a clause of 90 days unemployment. That means you cannot be unemployed for more than 90 days. So you have to be a working professional, and simultaneously you have to apply for your ECR if you wish. Once your ECR is done, then you can choose to work in any of the 50 states in USA, or you can apply for a license exam in a particular state. Again, during this period, you can go in for type 1 evaluation, which is necessary for obtaining healthcare certificate, and also for obtaining the H1B visa. Nowadays, the criteria for obtaining H1 visa have become B visa have become quite stringent, and the corona pandemic is really not helping the cause, because two license exams have been cancelled successively. So students have had to wait for 6 months, because the license exam happens after every 3 months. Apart from USA, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand are other good options which you need to consider. Australia and New Zealand, however, are more expensive. So if you have the funds, then only go for it, or you may have to take a loan for any of these countries. Canada again is a good option because the visa process there is much simpler, but the license exam in both Canada and Australia is tougher than that of USA. What are the career prospects post-masters? You could choose to be a teaching faculty in colleges or universities. You could get into clinical practice. You could be a research assistant. This is more applicable abroad, because you could be a research assistant to postdoctoral fellows or PhD fellows. And that is also a means of earning livelihood. Or you could be conducting courses or workshops, especially if you have done your master's abroad in a particular field, like say needling or manipulations or neurodevelopmental therapy, which is specializing not in a broad area but very narrow area. Okay, so then you could conduct courses or workshops in India or abroad, and that is a good way of even earning. And many physiotherapy professionals have made a livelihood of that. So these are the options post masters which you would have in hand. What are the other options apart from being self-employed, working in hospitals, or doing your masters? Are there any other options? Let's see. You could have a degree in management. So you could do MBA in hospital and healthcare management. That is the specialty which you can choose. You can do MHA, which is hospital administration or healthcare administration. You could choose to do again MBA, that is a general MBA, or in marketing, or a general MBA would also be fine. There is a particular course which is Masters in Public Health. It is provided by Mumbai University and a few other universities. You can opt for that as well. You can do a general MPhil, which is Masters in Philosophy, followed by PhD in your field of specialization. So these are the options where you can go for apart from the regular mainstream options. Any graduate from the medical or allied field is eligible. These courses are part-time or full-time, but work experience counts. So if you are adding on work experience before you're starting off with your management, it's great. All colleges have their independent CET. So you have to choose the college and then appear for the CET. Many of the well-known reputed colleges like Symbiosis, NMIMS are offering these courses. Even Mumbai University is, for that matter. What are the career prospects?
Excuse me.
Yes.
I actually have to inform you that, sorry to interrupt you first, but we actually have to reschedule the Zoom call because we're not using a premium account right now, and the 40
Okay.
limits time is
I'm
gonna.
almost done. I think I'm on the last slide. You want me to finish off?
Yeah, like, is this the last slide of the seminar only?
Yeah.
Okay,
Just one more slide after this. I'll just quickly rush through it.
sure,
So
sure, go ahead.
yeah. So you can choose to be a hospital administrator, uh, operations manager, marketing and a strategy manager, healthcare manager in state central government health programs. You could be a research assistant in healthcare NGO projects of WHO. You could teach in MBA schools. You could be an insurance and an IT sector analyst. or a healthcare business analyst. These are all the career prospects post management studies. Other options are medical coding, healthcare data science. Medical coding basically means medical transcription. Healthcare data science, healthcare insurance course, which are available online also. You could have a law degree with medical legal specialization. So these are the few options which you would have in your hand. And I'm sure, and I hope rather that I've shed some light on your doubts which they were there in your mind. So with that, I will end the session. Thank you so much for being a good audience. For further queries, you can email me at drpranjal.grover@gmail.com. Thank you. If there are any questions, I would be okay taking them.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Pranjal Grover. That was absolutely wonderful and a very informational seminar. Um, so we do have some questions here. Do you think we can just resume with another link and start the Q&A session on another session? Is that okay?
Yeah, I think that would be great. Yeah.
Okay.
So should I leave the meeting?
Yeah, I'll just be ending this meeting now.
All right. Thank you so much.